Welcome to the TTT News Special. I'm DK Rosner. The Lightbox is a youth-led initiative focused on highlighting and creating a platform to showcase local and music. Founder, director Mikhail Gibbings and talent coordinator Aviel Scanterbury, they join us before the August 10 launch of Season 4. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure. Now, Mr. Founder Director, give us a little history about the Lightbox. Thank you.
So Lightbox is a initiative that I wanted to do since I was in high school. I started off as a musician. I'm a filmmaker and stuff now, but Barry and I both, Aviel and I both met in high school, and we both musicians gigging, trying to navigate the arts and music space in Trinidad, and kind of came to the conclusion that there are not a lot of spaces that exist for original music, especially well-curated video-based stuff for original music in Trinidad and Tobago. Especially for people, not everybody has access to the same tools and stuff in this space. So we kind of I wanted to make a platform that kind of similar to Soul Train in the early days, where you could have people showcase their original music. We have so much new music coming out of this country in a space that was really well curated, pretty, and I specifically went to film school and everything to try to make the dream a reality. And 2 years ago, I got a team of people together, including Aviel here, and we managed to get it started. So what we do is we showcase local underground music, only original music, in a sort of live setting where people are doing live interpretations of their music. And it's a web show. So each episode is available on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And you could watch this stuff there for free.
And Aviel, tell me a little bit about the moving, or let me talk about coordinating that talent within a pandemic. What has that been like?
It's a complicated process. I mean, we've been doing it for 2 years now. We've had 2 seasons before this in the pandemic. It's really a matter of reducing risk as much as possible. It's something we take very seriously. A lot of having people enter through different entrances, keeping masks on at all times, absolutely mandatory, and sort of reducing the amount of people who are allowed into the space at any given time. A lot of artists, as expected, would want to bring, their media team and people who they come to support them and stuff, and we've had to kind of limit that, which has been a little difficult. But to keep everybody safe, I don't think there's a big question on whether or not that's something we would be willing to compromise.
All right, and let me bring in Mr. Scanterbury now. Who are some of the individuals that have been on the show before? And I say that because you're going into Season 4 now, but who are some of those who played a role or been featured in the first 3 seasons?
But we had artists like College Boy Jesse, or as he is referred to now as College. We've had Shanaka, we've had Shumba. We've had a bunch of artists from all over, like across the genres in Trinidad and Tobago, maybe dancehall, soca, R&B, calypso. We have some parang bands as well in our recently concluded first ever Christmas special, if I should call it that. And yeah, we had a bunch of local acts, unbeknownst to us before, who we've had the pleasure of meeting and realizing that everyone here is just trying to create something, and we at the Lightbox here just have a space where those people can showcase that.
And what has the feedback been like? And I ask that question because it is one thing to say, okay, well, we're doing soca, we're doing this where there is a space and people kind of expect this, but being able to perform on a platform where you're able to express yourself the way that you want to outside of a season like a carnival season where people are looking for soca or people expect soca in the main? What has that been like in terms of feedback, both from viewers as well as the artists themselves?
Oh, sorry. But I think it has been a breath of fresh air, because, it's like, after Carnival, you already hear soca a lot on the nation's radio stations until Carnival comes around the next year. So to have something like the Lightbox, that we kind of release the season during the July-August period. So, it kind of gives, soca artists and other different artists as well the opportunity to be heard. Yeah, son.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for the. I mean, we try to showcase as many genres as possible on the Lightbox. The key is we want to keep things pretty balanced in that area. And one of the more exciting things has been we're in an age of the internet and an age where whereas before artists would have had to work through this sort of invisible upward mobility ladder to get onto the radio or something like that and appeal to these people to get their stuff heard by anybody else. We're in a space now where anybody could put absolutely anything they want up on the internet and get like 100,000 views, find an audience for themselves outside of the traditional accepted cultural and creative space. And the feedback from those people has been tremendous, because truly before this, we haven't really had a space where everybody could have a turn to express themselves the exact way that they wanted to, without any compromise, or having to appeal to any specific demographic to have their stuff come across. And I think that's really what's special about the space, and it's been really amazing to see people jump on it so willingly. Like, we've had people be very, very, very excited to see their friends and people who they would have basically known just in their circle making music, having like a space to express themselves on a bigger platform.
And I like the fact that you talk about that space to express yourself, as well as the fact, Mikhail, that you spoke about not having to compromise. Because looking at the product, you see some people or some persons are a little further along the journey than others, in terms of some are a little more raw, some are a little more polished. There's some people you're seeing, they're holding that mic and they've practiced their art, but in terms of like that total package, they're still a little rough around the edges. So like the camera in front of them is a camera. That camera is not a person as yet. But this is a platform that allows for people to make those steps going forward. Is that part of what you had in mind?
For sure. It's very easy. I mean, as Aviel and I are both musicians, it's very easy in this space to kind of start making things and very quickly start to feel like you're not going anywhere, especially because people aren't as much going to studios to record their stuff. A lot of people are just recording music on their phone or on their laptop or going by some friend's house and making stuff. And it's very easy when you're in such an insular space to feel like, I don't know where this goes next. And we've had the pleasure of having some people's first media appearances ever be on the Lightbox. And some people have actually managed to find an audience through the Lightbox episodes and build their stuff from there. So in some ways, it's a jumping off point. So obviously, as you know, noted, we have some people who maybe not as comfortable in front of a camera yet, but it's important to give some people that first step to let them know that this is something that's possible. No matter what you're making, you could find a home for it here with us at the Lightbox.
And we continue discussing those possibilities when we return from this break. Stay with us. I've been a real bad boy. music of Janine Ruiz and the friends, I believe Chris Kunkun is on that as well. But we are discussing the Lightbox with Mikhail Gibbings and Aviel Scanterbury. Season 4 starts on August 10. And gentlemen, I like the fact we took that break just as we were discussing a platform. Now, it is one thing to say, okay, well, people are recording on their phones, recording at home, and not sure where they are going to be getting a platform for their art to be shared. How does that intensify, or how does that change during the pandemic? I'll start off with you, Mr. Scanterbury.
Okay, well, being the talent coordinator, we usually have like a bunch of artists throughout the year on like a regular year, even with no COVID, right? So you can imagine in a time of COVID, the amount of responses we have got because of, there's just not much going on in a time of COVID. So we've had an overwhelming response, especially with this new season about to release here. And, people just home in their houses, nothing to do. And all we could really do is create, you understand? And Lightbox really has just been that one constant in Trinidad, at least in Trinidad, for artists to come and release and showcase their work.
And one of the things I really appreciate, well, sorry, go ahead please, Mikhail.
No, I was just gonna double down on what Aviel is saying. Like, it's despite the lack of like live spaces anymore, we've kind of just had the chance to be the space since we've been lucky enough to not have to completely shut down. We've been able to be the home for a lot of people who, otherwise the stage have been their home. We've been able to be their home for the last almost 2 years now in this pandemic.
And how does that make you think about the different aspects that go into performance? I hear some people are moving away from performance and moving towards the word experience because they're trying to get something that is so holistic. When you listen to Bunji Garlin to itemize jobs, and it's literally a thesis in Heart of the People saying, okay, well, this goes into it, this goes into it. What does that make you think about the part that the digital landscape has to play in 1, curating, 2, archiving, 3, just sharing the love, sharing the vibe?
It's been amazing. So I feel like the advent of something like the internet. I mean, I touched on a little earlier. I was speaking about the fact that anybody could now enter this creative space, whereas before there would have been, socioeconomic, prohibitions to getting something popular online. I think we've seen the rise of stuff like Zest and stuff that could not have existed in a different space where somebody's song, one of the biggest Zest songs right now, got big because a guy took a video of a man freestyling on the side of the road through a big speaker. That is not something that could have existed before now. And I think the main way to get for music to progress and creative spaces to progress is the more voices and the more different, the more interpretations you get in one space, the more things evolve. And because of the internet and because of these digital spaces and stuff, I think we are entering a new age of a new golden era of creativity in Trinidad and in the broader Caribbean that we haven't seen since maybe the big boom in World War II for Calypso and that sort of thing. We haven't had a time like this before where creation has been so prolific and creation has been so free, because you could really at this point just make whatever you want and find a space and find an audience for people to listen to it. It's a beautiful thing, I think.
And I smile looking at this visual right now because these gentlemen, they actually extempored, and I think they extempored on Valentine's Day. And if I didn't see it, gentlemen, I would have never believed that we would be in a space where I hearing fellas extempo and they're using words like zest and wet man inside the thing. I'll be like, no man, all you're trying to blow my mind. And we also have experienced people who are a part of it. So just the kind of engagement that you're able to make in a space like that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also something to be said for our sponsors and that sort of thing. When we were getting into this, we expected a lot more pushback from the corporate sphere, or like people not being familiar with what we do. I mean, as young people, we live on YouTube and Facebook and digital spaces like that. We've been aware of it for a longer period of time, but we have been able to build a very, very good relationship with brands like NGC. NGC has sponsored us for uh, almost since the very beginning. They've been partnered with us in a way that we never expected to be as actively embraced by, the corporate world of Trinidad, which is a good thing. I mean, it shows that what we do is becoming more of a mainstream thing, and because the people who watch our show, we have people who are in our age demographic, but we also have like older people, like people I've had aunties and friends and family of aunties and uncles come to me and say, "Hey, I saw the last episode of Lightbox. That guy is great, man. He sung," and comparing them to people who they listened to growing up and that sort of thing, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, a older guy even asked me, "Hey, you ever heard about Lightbox? You should be on. You should try and get in contact with those guys." I think they knew I had anything to do with it, but yeah, it's people from different walks of life. You understand, and that's just a beautiful thing. And I think it's the way music has been intended to be shared. You understand, and everybody, could have a space of their own. You understand, in the Lightbox. You understand, you can bring your fans to the Lightbox, and the fans of other artists would see your music as well, and they might be tuned on to you as well. And that is how everybody's following will grow. So it's really like a community that we just helping each other, right?
And in that community, we're seeing a bit of Hey Choppy right about now, and his interpretation of Captain was so refreshing. You spoke about it like a breath of fresh air. So not having to say, okay, well, it have to sound like soca. So it kind of broadens your horizons in terms of how you're able to play with the music, explore, and become yourself to a bigger degree. But Aviel, tell me a little bit about how you find some of these individuals, please. Because underground is underground, and sometimes they're not necessarily the most apparent to be able to put them on a platform such as this.
Right. Well, I'm a musician myself. I play the steel pan, and I think of myself as an underground musician as well, because outside of Carnival, outside of Panama, you understand, steel pan kind of sad to say, but it takes a back seat for the rest of the year until Panama comes around. So, in terms of the underground scene, before pre-pandemic, we've had to be surviving through playing gigs, doing live shows, playing in church, playing different events, different corporate events. Now that has stopped, and we have to find other means now. And so, in terms of like how I get in touch with all these artists, we have, as I said, each artist could submit their song to the Lightbox team, and we would listen to it, and we would try to have as much variety on the seasons as well. So that's how we basically choose who we want to be in the season. It's more like a variety thing more than anything else.
All right, now, gentlemen.
So a lot of people that sorry?
And so I said we're out of time, so I can't ask about season 4, but I will say that they can tune in because it's the Lightbox TT on YouTube, and it's also Lightbox on IG and Facebook. So we're looking out for big things from you. Thank you for doing what you do, gentlemen. And on behalf of the entire news team, thank you for tuning into the TTT News Special.